I will begin and participants can join because we have a very limited time and we have booked the interpreters for the for a time frame. So good morning, everyone. I think it's morning for everyone right now, and it will be evening for some people who are our members but are based in some other regions and may not be able to join us. So that's why. So good morning. My name is Waqar and I'm based in Pakistan. I'm working with Communities for Inclusion, TCI, as a senior programs officer. It is my pleasure to welcome all our members to this induction webinar, and we also welcome all persons with psychosocial disabilities who have joined us from the national networks of our national members. Thank you so very much, everyone, for joining this webinar today. This webinar is never possible without you all. I would now like to thank all our distinguished speakers, our leaders and mentors who have joined us today for this induction meeting. And on behalf of the Secretariat, we express our gratitude to you for joining us today for this induction meeting, where members from the different parts of the world have joined us and who have become members of TCI like in the last year and in the last month. All the new members will get a chance to hear a lot from you about your works at the national level, advocacy with the government, works in the communities, and your journeys, of course, as a TCI member and in the TCI movement. This webinar is an opportunity for all the new members to learn about TCI works and interact with leading members of TCI, to learn about their works at the national level for advocacy and inclusion of people with psychosocial disabilities. This is a platform which has been initiated by the Secretariat to welcome all new members joining TCI from various parts of the world. So we welcome you all. We did one induction in the 2021, and we are really sorry to organize this induction webinar a bit late. It was supposed to be organized a bit earlier, but we are trying to streamline the process of organizing induction webinars more regularly in the Secretariat. So before we proceed further, I will now request Fiza to say some features of this webinar today. Fiza, over to you.
Sure, thank you, Waqar. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Fiza, and I'm Programs Coordinator at TCI-Global. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. Before we officially kick off the session, I would like to share a few guidelines for this meeting. Firstly, I would like to inform you that this webinar is being recorded, and the purpose of recording is to make it available to those who registered but couldn't attend due to different time zones. We are also providing international sign interpretation and closed captions. To have access to the closed captions, please access the CC button located at the bottom of your screen. Kindly keep your microphones and videos turned off when you're not speaking. You may activate your video and microphone when you're invited to speak on the panel. Moreover, you're also requested to speak at a normal pace so that the sign interpreter and the captioner can meet the flow of the presentations and statements. I will request the interpreter to flag us to slow down in case we are moving fast. During the event, if you have any questions for the speakers, you can submit them using the Q&A option, which is also located at the bottom of your screen. The speakers will address your questions directly or at the end of the sessions. Thank you, everyone, for your cooperation, and over to you, Waqar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fiza. So many of your questions will be addressed during this webinar only and while hearing all speakers. But yes, just in case if you have more questions, we will also have a Zoom polling survey, a Zoom session, a polling session, and also have a dialogue session at the end of the webinar where we will provide an opportunity for all members to you can raise your hand, you can unmute yourself, and you will get an opportunity to engage. Like we'll have an opportunity to engage together, have a dialogue between us. So yes, I would now invite Ms. Bhargavi Dawar, Executive Director of TCI, Bhargavi is working, has been working in this sector for decades and convened TCI in 2013, which began from 3 countries and now has a presence in 50 countries. I also want to take this opportunity and thank you, Bhargavi, for convening this unique and opposed CRPD movement of people with psychosocial disabilities. Over to you, Bhargavi, for the opening remarks and some history of TCI.
Thank you so much, Wakar and Fiza, for inviting me into this panel. Must be quite early for many of you. I hope it's still convenient to be part of this program. So TCI stands for Transforming Communities for Inclusion. It has many precursors, of course. I have been working in the sector for the last 35 years. And the initial ideas began with the World Network of Users and Survivors for Psychiatry many decades ago. When I was a board member there, had the occasion to engage deeply with the drafting of the conventional rights of persons with disabilities. The convention gave us a new starting point. The user survivor movement gave us a lot of advocacy ideas around our liberation. So I've had the good fortune to meet a lot of our elders in the movement from before. I have learned from them. The list would be too long for me to share here, but we honor them. We consider them as our leaders. Some of them have passed on, so they are martyrs, having spent lifetime trying to reform this intractable system of mental health care. Its laws, its professionals, the industry, all of that. So remembering them and honoring them in this meeting today. It has been a culture to honor our past leaders, even though they are not part of TCI, or they are a precursor to the TCI movement. So that was something that I really wanted to begin with. We differentiated ourselves from the user survivor movement because, as you can see from the speakers list and from the overall formation of TCI, it began in the Global South. Global South, at that time when we began 10 years ago, did not have many mental health legislations and institutions. Today, the situation is changing, but there are large tracts of Asia Pacific African regions where there are no services whatsoever, psychosocial support services whatsoever. So when we met several times over between 2013, 14, 15, 16, and different parts of Asia Pacific regions, we felt that inclusion is a good entry point, because with inclusion comes the entire package of the conventional rights of persons with disabilities. And later on, by 2016, we are also involved in the SDGs debate. So it also brings the whole package of sustainable development goals, which is very applicable through many policy instruments in the Asia Pacific region, whether it be UNSCAP or UNDP. Many of them are engaging with these international policy frameworks. So it made sense for us to shift our location from user survivor fighting psychiatry and its institutions to persons with disabilities asking for an entire canvas of human rights and services. So we talk a lot in TCI about shifting the entry point from mental health to inclusion. That is the rallying point of TCI. It also gave us the occasion to name ourselves as a post-CRPD movement built on the guidance, the letter and spirit of the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities. It's lovely to see many people from the UK and other regions here. And we will strive to build this discourse on inclusion to the global north countries as well. We have a few organizations who are members who've also shifted their location from user survivor to persons with psychosocial disabilities and engaging the national advocacy platforms on dealing with the implementation of CRPD, the monitoring process in their own countries. So I will stop here and thank you all for joining us today. You have some of the leaders, top leaders from the TCI movement. It's an honor to have you all, Rubina, Matrika, Kim, Kavita, Yeni Rosa, and we look forward to a wonderful session this morning. I hope it will be useful to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bhargavi, for this warm welcome and this warm welcome remarks for the new members who have joined us today and sharing about our vision, where we started from, and how we plan to mobilize and how we envision to mobilize with the movements of people with psychosocial disabilities in different parts of the world from the national context. So as persons with disabilities, as persons with psychosocial disabilities, we face so much of exclusion in our daily lives. We are totally left behind in majority of the aspects of lifespans and have no access to mainstream services in community which are available to other people in the society. We are labeled as mad people, and especially the young generation is highly stigmatized. Women with psychosocial disabilities experience so much of violence, and definitely Yeni will be speaking about that later in her panel talk. When we talk about families, we are not involved in any decision-making process, not inside homes, nor even the government legislations. They are so discriminatory. We are not involved in the decision-making processes. There is a huge issue around our identity. Bhargavi spoke about identity. And in society, we are still tagged as persons with mental illness, mental patients, persons of unsound mind, mad persons, etc. And it confines us to the mental health legal system and takes away our legal capacity to explore opportunities, take risks, make our own decisions, and enjoy all fundamental freedom, fundamental human rights, which are available to other people with and without disabilities. Institutionalization is increasing massively. There are countries where youth with psychosocial disabilities are commonly found in mental health asylums, rehabilitation centers, visiting psychiatric clinics, nursing homes, and a variety of care institutions, and they face long-term isolation. Our families see us as burdens, our friends see us as burdens. We are bullied inside the schools, in the institutions. We are forced to take psychiatric treatments, which makes us numb and weaker, not only mentally, but also physically. These psychiatric diagnoses and treatments make our lives even worse, and we are dropped out of the education system, losing hope in life. And there is a whole list of issues which should be addressed for the inclusion of people with psychosocial disabilities. So my first interaction with TCI was in 2015 in Bangkok during the TCI plenary meeting. And I had a vision after my education that I will work in the disability sector, because in my young life, I experienced a lot of exclusion and discrimination. And by that time, I only knew a very little tiny bit of the CRPD. So when I came to the first TCI Bangkok plenary meeting, it was such an amazing experience for me to interact with the movement of people with psychosocial disability. And for the first time in my life, I was interacting with such amazing people. And for the first time, I got to know that there is a movement which exists and is working at the Asia Pacific level. I left Bangkok with a lot of questions in my head, and it was my first interaction with a movement of people with psychosocial disabilities, hearing about legal capacity, hearing about the CRPD, hearing about identity, about full inclusion, living independently in the community, decision-making, incapacity laws, etc., etc. I still remember that there was one session during the plenary, and the question was to the participants because it was a capacity building session, and there was a question to the participants that should we have a separate mental health legislation for people with psychosocial disabilities, or should we have a disability legislation? And I really don't want to say what I answered at that time during the workshop. So that was the starting point of my transition. I respect and honor all our leaders, mentors, trainers, and colleagues in TCI. I have learned a lot from you all, who have been mentors for me and many of us in this webinar, um, who gave time and space to young people like us in TCI. I really, really value this space. So from there, I started envisioning that inclusion of what is inclusion for people with psychosocial disabilities. TCI gave me a pathway, a direction to learn about rights-based perspective, CRPD-based perspective. And I could literally see a transition in myself in early years and how I used to see things before, and now I see how I see things today. It's totally different. So as a young person with psychosocial disability, I was really passionate about working for the rights of people with psychosocial disabilities and contribute to the work of TCI movement. I've been attending TCI convenings since 2014, participating in strategy meetings, sub-regional meetings, completed a fellowship, which gave me a lot of strength and enhanced my skills. And in 2019, I joined TCI Secretariat as Senior Programs Officer to contribute to the program-related works developed by the Secretariat and to support national movements of people with psychosocial disabilities. So throughout my journey, I have cherished every moment spent with my with the TCI family, where national movements come together for dialogues, sharing experiences, sharing about national advocacy work, seeking mentorship, doing community inclusion programs, and much more. It has been the most amazing journey of my life. And I would thank the entire TCI family for mentoring me and having me with you. I'm looking forward to working with all of you definitely in the coming future. So this first panel is about sharing experiences, sharing journey. I shared my journey with TCI. So now I invite Rubina Alamboya from Uganda, a senior leader in the movement and president of TCI, to make her remarks. Rubina is also the executive director at Triumph and has been working in the sector for more than a decade. So Rubina, floor is yours. Thank you.
Hello, thank you so much, Waka, and thank you for Bagavi for the opening remarks. I really, this morning I woke up so happy with the new energy, and I know it's because of this meeting. It has contributed a lot because I've been down with the malaria, but today I woke up feeling a certain kind of energy. And this is what it means for us to be here together. I want to begin by saying that today is a new day for us all. And I want to say that I love and treasure each one of us here. I thank you all members for making every effort to connect, for us to be together in this meeting as members of TCI-Global. It is, to me, just as I've said that it's really a new day, it's like it is coming with a new energy. For me, it is the first of its kind since I joined the TCI, for us to really connect all members from all corners of the world that have that subscribe to TCI, to connect together in this members meeting. So it is a great day, and my journey, just as we are all sharing our journey, I want to really begin by appreciating the fact that we are all alive, especially after the COVID-19, which shook all of us and took many of our friends, our members, our relatives. And so for us to be alive here, I really appreciate the author of life. I appreciate God for the gift of life. How has been my journey as a woman with psychosocial disability? My first connection, I could say, with the TCI was when I met Bagavi in the meeting of the World Network of Users and Survivors of Psychiatry. And I heard about TCI, and I heard about that it was in Asia, the Asia region. I remember sitting with Bagavi, and I really admired and I appreciated the approaches. And I saw that we were connecting in some of the way we are approaching at a community level. So we shared many things and the possibilities of maybe trying to learn some approaches that are being used in Asia, and also to see how I can also share how we are doing it here at a community level. I just admired that, and I didn't know that TCI was going to grow and become a global movement. So as I was still planning, saying how best can I learn, maybe, and you know, we are all moving at different paces with the technology and with the online things. I wasn't, it was my area of challenge or my area of development. Even up to now, I'm still growing and developing. I could not easily, I had not gotten to know that TCI is growing, and it has grown and is now extending in other parts of the world. I still appreciate that a good leader like Bagavi remembered that we ever had an interaction, and we talked about these very good approaches at a community level. And she reached out to me and said, Robina, do you know that TCI is growing and has grown? It is extending to other parts of the world. It was like I was behind news. And that is it. We are in the days of leaving no one behind, seeing that who is being left behind, and you look out for that person. That's when Bagavi had a talk with me and said, you know, this is what is happening. I was excited in my heart, and they said, oh, that is great. And we were able to share and said, this is a new movement. It is a movement on inclusion at community level. And my heart got excited, because that is where we really need to begin from. You know, community inclusion, being included at that level. That's where our lives are. That's where real life happens, and issues that affect our lives. And that's how I got excited, and I was open. I said, I'm willing to join the movement that is working on inclusion at community level, because that is my heartbeat, at a community level, at the grassroots, where things begin and where life is in reality. So I was able to register membership, and my life has never been the same. Every time I read articles, I read what the approaches of TCI, I feel my heart, I cannot say whether it's the heart or my mind widening and seeing further of what can happen to us and other people with psychosocial disabilities. And that's how, as I registered as a member, I got the opportunity also to be invited to the celebration of the 10 years of TCI Asia, as it was now becoming officially TCI-Global. And I also appreciate so much at this level, as I appreciate Bagavi, I appreciate all the founding members. I've always thought about them, because you know, for us to grow, it's all about membership. If these founding members had not identified themselves with this vision of transforming communities for inclusion, then maybe we would not have TCI, because all the membership is very, very important. That's why this morning we really appreciate each one of you who have decided to join this membership of a movement for inclusion at a community level, so that we can all live and enjoy independent living in the community. I appreciate I may not mention all of them, but many of them are here with us. I really appreciate you all. The founding members, I appreciate the new members, and I appreciate the vision. I want to also appreciate the secretariat that has been working day and night. You know, when something is new and is widening and growing, there is a lot that needs to be done in writing, in making sure that the voices are heard. We are here for a collective voice. Thank you all for everything you are doing, for every work you are doing. And for us here as Triumph, because as an individual, I appreciate it, but I had to share with our members at Triumph, Uganda Mental Health Support and Recovery Program. The board members were excited and other members were excited, and some of them have already, they are on this. I also appreciate the Triumph members for having accepted for us as Triumph, a movement which is, you know, a group of people, an organization that has come up to mentor, especially the younger generation in areas of inclusion, in areas of advocacy, and living together at the community level to enjoy our life and dignity. Thank you so much. I welcome you. We shall continue sharing together in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rubina. Thank you so much for this beautiful address. And you talked about inclusion. You talked about community inclusion, like what is community inclusion for us as persons with psychosocial disabilities, and how we envision ourselves to be included in the community. And thank you also for highlighting the strengthening of membership, because that is all we are about. So yes, now I invite Kim Ting Tong from Living Association, Thailand. Living Association is one of the founding members of TCI, and Kim is also serving as a secretary in TCI. She has given many decades to build a culture of community and recovery of persons with psychosocial disabilities in Thailand. Kim is a trainer of peer support, human rights, and citizenship. Kim oversees CRPD compliant disability service center for persons with psychosocial disabilities in Thailand. Kim, over to you. We would like to hear from you about your experience, your transition, and of course, your journey with TCI. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Baka. I am Kim from Thailand. I would like to share some my learning from TCI. Please forgive my English. I'm not very fluent in it. The name, first of all, that struck me about TCI is that the name of Transforming Community for Inclusion. I think it is very meaningful to me, as it is not a reaction to what we don't want, but pointing forward to what we are pressing for, you know. It is clear and constructive, embracing the passion of which we hold as the guiding star. I come from the part of being lack of the good service, and we have many things that we have to know rights to, you know, including, of course, inclusion, and also the rights to get support for study, the rights to get support for employment and things like that. So in order to build the inclusive community, I think it is very important. I first got to know TCI in a capacity building seminar held in Bangkok. I think it is one capacity building is one of the foundation of TCI. TCI has built people from the grassroots, individuals as well as a community. I have learned many important things for my work at Living Association and Family Link Association, one of which is CRPD. It was an eye-opening to a new world to me. Another things that is an eye-opening for me is the capacity building in advocacy. For CRPD, I think I see the convention as the core of TCI, and at the same time, TCI seemed to be the CRPD in practice, in reality, showing its feasibility and effectiveness in the real world, especially the part of the world with limited resources and limited access to support and social protection. And the support TCI continue to support us to learn and to do according to CRPD through weighted webinars and country visits and other resources online. In addition, TCI support the national movements to learn and document the psychosocial disability condition in the nation, which is very useful for mapping the way forward. And I think documentation and research and also the data collection is part of TCI CRPD that very important for the works of the rights of persons with psychosocial disability. Moreover, the support of the national movement for a good cause is in place in TCI through the microgrants, fellowships, and again, country visits and other webinars and meetings. In participating in microgrants with local projects, I have seen, I have done 2 microgrants. I have got 2 microgrants from TCI, one during the COVID pandemic. And we work to try to create food stability in the urban area. And another is to educate and do the situation analysis. I found that TCI put much emphasis on accountability and transparency. I do respect the requirement of sound practice of bookkeeping and documentation, which I have seen that people like support us, like people at the secretariat, like Waka or Career, help us a lot to make it simple to do, but at the same time reflect good financial discipline. I really appreciate that in TCI. In short, I think TCI is very special in the sense that our leaders have roots in the national soil and at the same time have the global vision and the capacity to connect the two together without losing another thing, the two goes together, making the vision become reality. That's I think TCI is the voice of global person with psychosocial disability that the world needs to hear. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kim. Okay, thank you so much, Kim. Thank you so much for your remarks. So now we'll move to the next phase of this webinar, and it's the next part. And in this part, we will be doing a small Zoom polling survey. is a very short one, and as this webinar is a platform for us, all of us, to learn from each other. We will now do this small Zoom poll, and also please don't hesitate in participating in this polling. Even if you know or don't know the answers, this is for us to learn where and how best we can support our members with programs planning and in the secretariat. So it's just to make this webinar a bit more interactive. There would have been a long list of questions we could have added to this Zoom poll, but we have just kept like 7-8 questions in that. And it's only for the participants and our new members who have joined us today to respond to them. And please know that the responses will be anonymous. So even if you answer the question wrongly, or if you don't know the correct answer, so please don't stress. It's a safe space for all of us, and we all are learning together. So yes, now we'll proceed towards the Zoom polling. I will launch it. So can you see this question on your screen? Richa, Fiza, can you help me with this? I have
Yes.
launched the,
Yes,
yeah,
it's possible.
We can see, we can see the
okay.
screen. Yeah.
So I will request all the participants to answer the question. And for like in the each question you have like, is it a single choice or it's a multiple choice? So some questions are single choice and some questions are multiple choice, and you can respond to them. And we have like 10 minutes to do this. And let me know if you are not able to answer like these questions, if you like you're facing any difficulty in choosing the best option. Okay, so I see now people have started responding to the questions. And I will request Matrika, Kavita, and Yeni to have a look on the responses, because these questions are just relevant to the speeches which are going to be delivered in the next panel. Take your time, take your time. We have time. We have like 5, 7, 8 minutes now. But please do answer. Even if you know the answer, if you don't know the answer, don't stress. It's a safe space. We all are learning. And this is how I also learned in TCI. So once all of you are done with the questions, you can, even write in the chat that we have completed. Or if you need, like, if you have not completed and you're still working on it, you can write in the chat box like, I'm still working. And in the top left corner, you will also see the time that still we have like more than 6 minutes. This activity can be boring for the sign interpreters, so bear with us. Thank you. Elimina, you raised your hand, so we will have a chance to speak in the dialogue session later in this webinar. Okay. Okay, Elimina, you are facing challenges of communication, so no problem. Maybe somebody is there with you who can support you. Yes, we will share the recording. Thank you, Elimina, for submitting. We will share the recording after the webinar is over. We'll share it with all of the members who have attended the webinar today. Emmanuel, you have a hand raised, but we will have a dialogue session where you can share your thoughts after these speeches are over. So yeah, please, we'll have a session to have a dialogue between us.
Wakar, just highlighting this in the question and a box. Shet has written that they are unable to send message to the chat box.
Okay, but the chat is enabled for everyone. Yeah, it's enabled for everyone, for the panelists and the attendees to chat with each other. Okay, so we have a number of participation that 93% of the participants have participated in the Zoom poll. I think we are just left with 1.5 minutes and we'll end the poll. 96% participation. Thank you so much, everyone, for responding to the Zoom polls. You're left with 1 minute. Thirty seconds. 20 seconds. Seven, 6, 5, 2, 1. Okay, so we'll share the results now. I hope that you will be able to see the results on your screen. So the first question was on Article 19, like what is the Article 19 of the CRPD, and 77% people responded that living independently and being included in the community. 19%, like 6 participants said equal recognition before the law, and one was the one response towards the habilitation and rehabilitation. Movements of persons with psychosocial disabilities should be part of mental health legislations or disability legislations. 27 said it should be disability legislation. 4 said it should be a mental health legislation. The third question was, are you aware of Bali Declaration? 14 people answered yes, 17 said no. As an OPD, what do you need in general to build your capacity? So 15 said we need CRPD trainings. Some said thematic webinars, some said advocacy opportunities, some said technical assistance, and 17 said like all of the above opportunities. Are you part of the national umbrella organization in your country? 22 people said yes, and 9 said no. Are you aware of the UN guidelines on deinstitutionalization, including in emergencies, which was just recently launched in the September 2022? So 20 said yes, and 35% of the participants said no. Then we had next question, what do persons with psychosocial disabilities need for living independently in the community? And 10% said community support services, 10% said community support systems, 65% said community support systems and community support services, 74% of the participants said access to mainstream services, for example, health, education, access to health, education, employment, housing, etc. And the last question was, have you faced multiple, have you faced discrimination on the basis of your disability? 77% said yes, 13 said no, and 13 said that it doesn't apply to them. So I'll stop sharing this Zoom poll results, and will now proceed to the next part of the webinar. And I will now invite Matrika. Matrika Devkota. Matrika serves with TCI as a treasurer and is one of our board members. He has been associated with the movement since very long time. And thank you, Matrika. I always learn a lot from your questions. He's based in Nepal and is the executive director of Koshish, an OPD of persons with psychosocial disabilities in Nepal. Matrika, you have like 5-7 minutes. Please keep to the time. We will like to hear from you. What do you mean? Like, how do we enable a legal environment for us as persons with psychosocial disabilities? In our constitutions, we are still labeled as persons with unsound mind. How do we address these policy gaps? Over to you, Matrika. 5 to 7 minutes.
Greeting from Nepal. My name is Matrika, and I'd like to heartily thanks for TCI, Bhargavi, Bhakar, and Kim, and Ravina. Thank you for excellent presentation. But one of the issues that we persons with psychosocial disabilities are facing, and also I am facing, we are facing in Nepal are legal discrimination. So if we go that rather than what are the laws that doesn't have discrimination, mostly the the electoral act unqualified people to be member of the parliament and disqualified to start organization, and also like every part of law, these laws are discriminatory, and also I think those are inherited from generation to generation. And people who we have gone through the psychosocial disability or crisis, what we feel, like what I felt is like me and TCI, and we think that we wouldn't come together without CRPD. CRPD is the convention that's for us and for people with all person with disabilities and all person who are living with barriers. So, and CRPD's guarantees about the legal capacities of the persons with disabilities. And what we're trying in Nepal is that these all the legal provisions in one hand. And what does CRPD says? The equal before the law. And so we are in a paradigm shift that no more we want to level or mentally things. And but we are the person living with this psychosocial barrier, and we are part of disability. So we are one ways there are barriers, legal barrier, but other ways the CRPD promotes the full legal capacity of person with disability, including person with psychosocial disabilities. So that we are sensitizing the parliamentarian, bureaucrats, and also the commissioners. And also, I think it's very important, and that's the TCI doing. And what we like to scale up is of the true implementation of CRPD and in the advocacies and all the matter of laws, regulation, and policy, and also service deliveries for CRPD in compliance. And likewise, we know that the substitute decision making and also state party is obligated and according to Article 12 of CRPD to adopt supported decision making. And also it is very important that the support system for person with disability, including psychosocial disabilities. So we are advocating that so there should be reasonable accommodation of the supported decision making and safeguarding mechanisms. And there should be abolishment of dominant of guardianships and substitute decision making. So, and I think this is the issues for every country, not just for in Nepal, it's for all of Asia Pacific, all over the world. So, and now time to think about and the CRPD's provisions. So here in Nepal, we are not just lobbying and advocating that in the grassroots, and also we are working, we're filing cases against this discrimination to the Supreme Court as a public interest litigations. And so finally, I like to appeal all that TCI is the platform for all persons with psychosocial disabilities, and mainly, so we have to prioritize that in every countries there should be supported decision making and and also abolishment of substitute decision making. So this is quite complex subject, but I would like to also say that I'd like to continue to this dialogue. TCI would like to continue to have dialogue, and finally best wishes for this productive and very fruitful webinar and induction for the new members. Thank you and have a good day or good morning, good night. Thank you.
Thank you so much, dear Matrika. Thank you so much for your address. So I was notified that we are running out of time, so we'll move quickly and I'll now request Yeni Rosa. Yeni, the floor is yours. Yeni is one of our board members and also she's working with IMHA and the Indonesian Mental Health Association as executive director and is our founding member of TCI. So Yeni, we'd like to hear from you about why we developed a Bali Declaration and what is the situation of people with psychosocial disabilities inside institutions in low and middle income countries. Just briefly, Yeni, we have like 5 minutes. 5 minutes for you.
Okay, thank you. I just go, right away because I have only 5 minutes. Yeah, well, the Bali Declaration is an answer, is a response, is a cry, is a how do you call it? Is a war cry against the situation of in many parts in the southern hemisphere or the developing countries. The situation in which we live in is very much medical models in which the one who has a voice by person with psychosocial disabilities are the medical professionals. The doctors, the psychiatrists, they are the one who decide whether we can work or not, whether we can vote in the election or not, whether we can do this, whether we can do that. It's depend on most of all the psychiatrists. And many of the peer support groups in many developing countries is working on under this how to call it, under these circumstances too, because many of them only talk or converse about the kind of medication that they use, about how to change the medication that, medication this. It's only talk about medication as if the whole world about psychosocial disabilities is on the medical side or medical sector of ourselves. That's the one that really bother many of us, because we would like to be in charge of ourselves and not the psychiatrist, not the medical professional. And at least in terms of like they turn us into like a docile submissive person, and the goal is to make us easy to control instead of helping us to gain our independence and our power. Many of the medication that we receive in the low middle income countries is the one that turn us into kind of like a zombie and into a submissive and silent and easy to handle person. So that's and as if like the only thing that we need is something to shut us up. As long as we sit in the corner silently and not turn amok and disturb or bother other people, that's enough. That's the goal. So we rebel against this. We fight against this. That's how or why Bali Declaration exists. The Bali Declaration exists in in essence is to turn the paradigm from the medical model of disabilities, in which the psychosocial disability only viewed from the medical point of view, into a model which we call the social and human rights model, in which we view psychosocial disability from the social and human rights perspective. So we are not patient. We individual, we with the whole rights that carried in us since we are born. That's the one that's very important important in the Bali Declaration. So Bali Declaration talk about how we have to change from medical model to social model, and the inclusion is not to just sit quiet and not turn amok. The goal is inclusion in the society. We would like to be part of the society, the active and contributing members in the society. We would like to live in the society. We would like to go to work. We have to have equal opportunity to education, employment. We would like to have the whole the equal standard of living with other people. We would like to have a political participation, the right to political participation as others. We would like the comprehensive healthcare in which we can choose which treatment that we would like to have, whether it's a medical treatment, whether it's alternative treatments like hypnotherapy, like Tai Chi, yoga, or whatsoever that we would like to have. So we face many things in achieving this goal. That's one of the biggest one is our legal capacity, because in many countries, not only in the low-income countries and middle-income countries, but up to the capacity. So we recognize the biggest problem of all, which is legal capacity in our Bali Declaration. And the last one that we say, in order to change the situation, the paradigm shift, and etc., we would like to be the actors. We are the one who do the movement. We are the one who lead the movement. That's what we want. We do not want that somebody say like from big international NGOs that do the work for us. No, we would like to be the leaders in our own rights, for our own benefit, for our own future. So that's the point of the Bali Declaration, that we shift the paradigm from the medical model to the human rights and social and human rights model. We recognize the biggest problem, which is legal capacity, and we demand that we would like to live in the inclusive society. Inclusion is our goal. Inclusion is our goal, not just to be cured of our mental illness, but to be included fully in the society. And in order to be included, we have to address so many problems, which is very important for us, including works, employment, including education, including social protection issues, because that's the biggest problem that we face in the Southern Hemisphere. Lack of social protection scheme, not only for us, but also for other persons with disabilities, even for other person without disabilities, we face the same problem of lack of social protection. And one more big problem that we face, which is different from other disabilities, that because lack of legal capacity, they can put us in the institution whether we like it or not. So thousands and thousands persons with psychosocial disabilities leave the institution. And one of our main goal, because we cannot achieve the goal of living inclusively in the society when some of us forced to live excluded in the institution. So to delay the institutionalization system and turn it into community-based rehabilitation system is one of our goals. So like that's what we would like to say, that the Bali Declaration is an answer of the situation that we face. in many parts of the world, especially in the southern global south. Thank you very much. Back to you, Waka.
Thank you so much, Yeni. Thank you so much for sharing your remarks and the oversight, like giving us the overview, like what we need to do from like how why it is important for us to move from the medical model to the social model, and why we worked on a Bali Declaration. Thank you so much for sharing all the like overview of the Bali Declaration. Richa has also shared the link in the chat box, so like you can access the Bali Declaration from there, and you can study the Bali Declaration more in detail. So as I mentioned before, like we're running out of time, Kavita, you will have to support us with like 5 minutes for you. Kavita is working with Bapu Trust as a board member, and Bapu Trust is one of the founding members of TCI. Kavita has been working in India running a SEHER program in the Bapu Trust, and through which they prevent institutionalization of persons with psychosocial disabilities, and providing, and they are also working a lot on putting in place community support systems, how people with psychosocial disabilities can be prevented from institutionalization. Kavita, over to you.
Thank you so much, Vakar. So I'll dive into it right away. I am Kavita Nair. I am located here in Pune, India. I will be sharing about the SEHER program and about community support services and community support systems from the SEHER program. Specifically on the community support systems and its role in preventing institutionalization of persons and also stopping institutionalization of persons. That will be the focus over the next few minutes. When we say community support systems, we mean the person at the center. We mean people around the person, their family, their peers, friends, the neighborhood support groups, the neighborhoods, many people from the larger and extended community spaces where the person resides. So this entire network of people is what we refer to as community support systems, and the processes that happen between them in this circle or in this network. Now, people in this community support system, this network, they meet each other, they interact and exchange with each other. They come together as people living in the same neighborhood, living in the same community. When people meet like this, it leads to creation of support systems. We also call it as circles of care in the program. In this circle of care, people speak to each other, they listen to each other, they address conflict through dialogue, and they support and build each other up. When someone is in danger of being institutionalized in the community, the bystander ethics are evoked. So people from the circle of care around the person, they are rallied and mobilized to stop the person from being forcibly put into an institution. There are very specific strategies that are used within the community support systems for doing this. For example, when a person is in crisis, that is a time when they are at the most risk of being put into an institution. So the circle of care and different players in this circle of care, they are mobilized to, one, be present with the person through the crisis, be available, listen and attend to the person, care for the person based on their requirements. Sometimes we have also had neighbors coming in with foster care arrangements so that the person is able to stay in some place safe till the crisis passes. Volunteers are there who do small befriending actions, being with the person, just sitting with them, talking to them, ensuring that they receive the food and fluids, and ensuring their safety when they are in this kind of a position where the family is just ready to put them into an institution. So the community sets up many support systems through this time so that this doesn't happen. When there is violence and neglect, the community members come together. They confront the family. They negotiate with the family. They put moral pressure on the family so that the family does not institutionalize the person. So these are some of the things that happen in the community support systems that are set up around the person. A key function by the community support system is also to enable the person to reach community support services and mainstream services. If there are no support systems, if there are no peers around, if there are no support persons around, if there are no people in your vicinity who you can reach out for support, for information, it becomes difficult to access the services and the opportunities. Living independently and being fully included in the community, this very important thing mentioned in the CRPD Article 19, it becomes possible when an entire community is mobilized and community support systems are put in place so that inclusion becomes possible. And the focus is not, treatment becomes possible, cure becomes possible, recovery becomes possible. When inclusion becomes possible, that's when we know that there is a strong community support system around the person. The community actors, they come together to provide support and safety, but also to rescue the person, to restore and reconstruct the safety of the person and their rights. This happens through long-term and sustained dialogues with the community, through awareness actions, and through speaking to many different stakeholders in this circle of care. In context of low-income countries, and especially when the community systems are still intact, the community support systems, they hold many resources to make deinstitutionalization possible and also to make prevention of institutionalization possible. A number of micro actions are involved in this process, and many different people in the circle of care come with different kinds of contributions. So therefore, the transforming of communities, I think this is where the inspiration comes from for the program. So I will stop here, Vakar, just mindful of the time.
Yeah.
And thank you so much to TCI Secretariat, Board and Leadership for this space and also to bring us all together and push the sector to think inclusion.
Thank you so much, Kavita. Thank you so very much. And I know that you had a lot more to say, but due to the time constraints, we will just we will definitely have more webinars in the future where all of these members who have joined us today can join again for attending these webinars. And please be aware that all of these newses are just they come on our IO groups, and you can have an information about any upcoming webinars and where you can participate and learn. So thank you so much, Kavita. And now I will request. So before going into the Samuel's presentation, I will say that in TCI we have developed. TCI has developed several program instruments, and through these programs we mobilize at the national level. And this is the process how we do it. So we do fellowships, we do micro grants, we do DPO support grants, we do country missions. So people have in the speakers list, people have shared about micro grants. They have been involved in micro grants. They have been involved in fellowships. We have been doing in TCI country missions. We have been doing sub-regional meetings, and yeah. So all of these programs we in TCI we use to mobilize at the national level. And recently we have supported the movement of Kenya through Samuel Macharia, and they have built a new and refreshed the movement in Kenya on the CRPD perspective, and they are working a lot in Kenya at the national context for the paradigm shift from the medical model to social model. So you can learn more about TCI programs from our website. I wanted to share like a lot about the programs which we offer in TCI, but definitely so there on our YouTube channel, you will have a look, and there is a video on the programs which we offer for persons with psychosocial disabilities, and program opportunities for the OPDs of people with psychosocial disabilities who are our member organizations. So from that link also you can learn more about our programs, and you can also learn more about our programs on the website. So I'll request Samuel. Samuel is our fellow and also working in Kenya now as a DPO grantee. Samuel, over to you. 5 minutes, please, so that we can have a discussion with the members who have joined.
Okay, Wakar, I have to cut down the presentation. Thank you very much, everyone at the TCS Secretariat. I joined the movement in the year 2012 under USP Kenya, which was a member of PAN-PPD and the World Network of Users and Survivors of Psychiatry. But by then, a lot of work had been done through basic needs on training community champions. And it came at the same time that the CRPD was being implemented, and Kenya had already ratified the CRPD in the year 2007. So to change the paradigm was not easy for me to put things into perspective. But with time I adapted into the social and the human rights model, where I worked with the institution until 2019, and an opportunity came up for fellowship with TCI-Global. And I remember the days in Bangkok in April 2022 with nostalgia, because it changed my whole perspective about advocacy to inclusion. And I remember very well Bagavi telling me I have to do targeted advocacy and not just do everything that people do or follow everything that people follow. And that is when I figured out what to do. Here, I don't have an organization, and I was with Elizabeth from Kenya, and we decided to come up with an organization that simulates the tenets of TCI. And we came up with championing for inclusive communities in Kenya, a process that began almost immediately for the registration, which was rigorous and a bit taxing. But finally, we made it and we got our certificate. And even before we got our certificate, we had already engaged in some regional event. That is a sub-regional meeting in Addis Ababa, whereby we came up with the Addis Declaration, similar to the one to the Bali Declaration. We also had a country mission in Kenya, and we had other many engagements, even the production of a policy paper on the direction that the organization is heading, which was basically based on the document on this declaration. So with the stakeholders forum, we were embraced, and we joined the national umbrella body, the United Nations, the United Disabled Persons in Kenya, which has really given us a platform to do our advocacy work. So as of now, we have changed the strategy because we have some very strong advocates, DPOs on the ground. For instance, the Psychiatric Disability Organization, the TINADA Youth Organization, they're doing amazing work on the ground, though based on medical model, but they have been able to address very many intersectionalities. And here now the gap is only to change the perspective into a human rights and social model. They have already engaged in access to justice program, social protection, and community support programs, mental psychosocial support systems. The other level that you're targeting is policy dialogue with the stakeholders. And some of these organizations have already started. CSC has already started with it. And we can see a huge potential in terms of advocacy initiatives in Kenya, because now even the duty bearers are able now to accommodate new principles and ideas based on SRPD. There are so many other activities taking place. We are already members of the UN partnership on the rights of persons with disability to review the effects on the implementation of the SRPD and also identifying the gaps that have been left. So there is so much work for us now, and I believe that the movement is not where it was 2 years ago. And I've really thanked the TCI Secretariat, by Bagavi, Akao, Richa, Fazul, and Bagya. I'm always in touch with them because of what they have taught us. At no single time that any harsh words has been used or demeaning words like substandard work, like shoddy job, they're always encouraging us to make more mistakes so that we can learn and experience so that we can always come better. And there is no formula in discovering new systems. And we hope to reach more counties. Currently, are allocated only 5, but with time, we hope to reach more DPOs on the ground. Thank you very much, Mr. Akar.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you for covering the program element and sharing your journey, how TCI has supported your organization and you in refreshing and building a momentum in Kenya. So, Richa, over to you for sharing about what we need campaign, and then we'll move into the dialogue session.
Yeah, thank you, Wakar. Good afternoon, good morning, and good morning, everyone, wherever you're in the world today. I'm Richa. I'm with TCI as the global and I'm with TCI Global as a research and advocacy officer. I'm from India, but currently I'm located in Aberdeen, in Scotland. I'll be talking to you very briefly about the What We Need campaign. This is TCI's annual advocacy campaign, which has been running since 2018. This campaign was initiated as a response to the Lancet Commission on Global Mental Health and Sustainable Development that was launched in 2018. This document again pushed us towards the mental health door and only talked about treatments, diagnosis, and screening as the possible solutions. We, as a movement of persons with psychosocial disabilities, were determined to challenge and correct decades of medical oppression on us and came up with this campaign to clearly state what we need for our inclusion. We wanted to reiterate and amplify our positioning as persons with disabilities, as rights holders, as provided in the CRPD, and this campaign helped us to do that. As this campaign starts in October every year, we also wish to reclaim the Mental Health Month by filling it with our voices. This campaign also provides a platform for our members and wider networks to present their works and advocacy to a wider global audience. Regarding thematics of this campaign, every year the campaign focuses on issues of topical interest at the time. To give a recent example, the What We Need 2022 campaign, the thematics were decided according to our engagement and active involvement with the following topics. And the thematics of 2022 were deinstitutionalization, community inclusion, access to justice, and a growing membership base of persons with neurodiverse and intersectional identities or lived experiences. Regarding the formats, we usually follow a very open format of submissions. Members are encouraged and given the creative freedom to get as creative as they want or retain the conventional formats. We usually receive blogs, we receive poems, videos, photo submissions. We also do a spotlight interview series to put a spotlight on our members and networks and their works in advocacy. I'll just take a couple of minutes to talk about our most recent campaign. 2022 campaign was a truly global and a vibrant one with our members and networks from across the world enthusiastically participating in it. We received around 50 submissions for 15 countries. And I would end by sharing a token of thanks. We thank all our longtime members, senior leaders and mentors who have always showed unwavering enthusiasm for this campaign. And to all the new members, many of who are here today with us in this webinar, thank you for joining the campaign in 2022. And for all the newly inducted members, we really look forward to featuring all of you in the upcoming campaign and really hope you will join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Richa, for keeping it short and crisp. So I'm really sorry, and my apologies to all of you for not managing with the time, and really thankful to all of the speakers who have shared their journeys with TCI, their works with TCI, their works at the national level, and how they are mobilizing at the national level about the Bali Declaration, about ADIS Declaration, about TCI programs. The senior leaders, we really, really respect your mentorship. Thank you so much for being there for us. So now I'll open the floor for the interactive dialogue, and will request Fiza to include everyone in the panel session, or you can raise your hand, and or if you're not going to raise the hand, I'm going to nominate you. So we'll quickly do this dialogue, and like you can share your thoughts. How do you feel about this webinar? What have you learned from TCI? What would you like to do as a member of TCI? So we are really keen to hear from you. Dorothy Gold, you would like to say something?
Yeah, I mean, just to say I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. In the UK, I've set up a group led by people with psychosocial disabilities called Liberation. We're battling away for full implementation of the CRPD, but it's an incredibly uphill struggle. Form of mental health law is just looking at improvements. It's not looking at the fundamental changes. So it's not going to be compliant with the CRPD. It's not going to bring in the human rights we need and deserve. So that's why I'm particularly pleased now that Liberation is a member of TCI. It's been absolutely great to hear all the different speakers, to add to knowledge about TCI, to hear about what's sort of going on. I think it would be great in sort of the next webinar to have plenty of opportunity as well for those of us who've newly joined to say a little bit more about our sort of own countries, because that would be, kind of the other half of what's been a really good webinar today. So that's kind of my feedback.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dorothy. We also look forward to stay in touch with you. We have more hand raised. So I'll now request Elimina. Elimina, you want to go? You want to speak? Okay, Mary Netley.
Hello. I am here. I didn't think I was going to speak, but I'm very pleased to say a few words. I live in England and I'm a member of Liberation, and I just want to say how wonderful Dorothy Gould is as a leader and getting us together and keeping us going when in very difficult times, really. So thank you very much to Dorothy and the other people who I've seen who are on this meeting as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And yes, we all acknowledge Dorothy's work, and yeah, we'll keep working together, hopefully. Harun, you want to say something?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for organizing this very interesting session. And we are working in Bangladesh as ADD International, and we are implementing community-based mental health project for children and young people with lived experience and also at-risk people. So I would like to discuss something about the communication and membership with TCI. We are the member for a long time, but I thought that at the middle of point, sometimes actually we disconnected that I feel with TCI as because of maybe communication problem. So I think that you already you have the membership update, and it's my request, if possible, to keep us in the loop of communication so that we can also participate your interesting events. As well as we also like to share sometimes about our activities and progress of mental health and psychosocial issues in the country. So yeah, that's important about if you can give some idea about our membership updates regular basis. I mean, yeah, maybe you can. Thank you.
And Richa, you want to come in here and share?
Yes. Hi, Harun. Thank you for that question. In the Secretariat, actually, we have started sending out all our emails through IO groups. And right now, we are just working on reconciling our lists and ensuring that the email IDs are all there and everyone is a part of those groups. So now that you've brought this to our attention, so we'll just look into this and we'll definitely communicate with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Richa.
Yeah, thank you.
We have so many hand raises. I don't know who raised the hand first, so I don't know who to nominate first.
Clever. Hello?
Clever. Okay, Clever.
Yes, I'm Clever from Rwanda. I'm the director of Promamed. It's an organization founded by ex-psychiatric users. I am the founder. I'm so happy to be with you. It's my first time to join this interesting webinar. So I'm happy to participate because here in Africa, especially in Rwanda, we are very, very stigmatized. I'm very happy to find this occasion to join my colleague, to hear from you, to hear some experience. So really, I appreciate TCI as an organization gathered our organization with psychosocial disabilities, because I wondering this because before I don't know if I will get an occasion to meet our colleague, but I'm wondering to be here. I have no word to speak. It's only to thank you and ask TCI to continue to be behind us, to coach us, to advise us, because we are the new in this movement. Thank you.
Thank you, Clever, for these very warm comments for TCI. I will like to open the floor for I will request all the panelists to join in this discussion. Bhargavi, Rubina, Yenny, Matrika, Kim. Bhargavi. Okay, so we'll move to next hand raise is from Seth. Seth, if I'm not pronouncing.
Hello everyone. I'm Setu Bueno from Tinada Youth Organization. This is a community-based organization in Kenya, western part of Kenya. I am happy to be here for this discussion that is very much important to us. We are an organization that works for persons with disabilities, and generally we have been working with persons with disabilities, and there are a number of interventions that we have done. For example, we have been collaborating with health workers to train persons with disabilities on sexual reproductive health and rights. We implemented a project a year ago, which enabled us to enroll some of the persons with disability to training institutions. Most important is that I learned about TCI from Samuel Njoroge. He's a very good guy who actually came to our office and trained us on psychosocial disability. This is an area that we were just covering it in totality generally, but now we actually dug deep about psychosocial disability and we learned a lot of things. From this meeting, what I learned today is that persons with psychosocial disabilities lack social protection, something that we really need to look into. I don't have much to say. I'm only looking forward to engaging more and more with the TCI. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Seth. We will keep sharing the information in the IO groups, and you can keep an eye on that. If some of you are not in the IO group, you can send an email to us or highlight so that we can add you in the IO group. Galpin.
Okay.
Hello, thank you. Hello, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Thank you, Aka. My name is Anne. I'm a member of Liberation with Dorothy, who's spoken earlier. My particular focus is I represent disabled trade unionists, including people who live with mental distress or neurodivergent in the UK. We have a main thrust of the work that we have to do still is to convince our government and our medical bodies to work in co-production with people with lived experience. So it was really, I really appreciated this is my first time at one of your webinars. And I really appreciated that you got that message at the very beginning that mental distress or psychosocial disabilities should be included under the collective umbrella of the Convention on the Rights of Disabled People, persons with disabilities. Thank you. We have to do a short report collectively, the DPOs, the disabled people's organisations in the UK. We have to do a short report on the UK government's progress or lack of progress on the CRPD this August. So this is a really good meeting to focus my brain. Thank you. Solidarity.
Thank you so much, Anne. And I believe my colleagues Bhargavi, Richa, they are in touch with Dorothy and the Liberation. Yeah, so thank you so much for your comments. Winfred Wanja. Winfred Kirumia.
Yes, morning everyone. I'm Winfred Wanja Kirumia from Embu in Kenya. My concern, I'm happy to be here, but I have this concern. You see, here in the rural, like here in Kenya, many those awareness campaigns are done in the cities, big cities. The mates here in the rurals, we women with psychosocial disabilities, we are suffering in terms of sexual reproductive health rights and living in the community. Most of us, we are discriminated, assaulted, denied opportunities, even attending the school. So my humble request is to request, we want those services which are in the cities, the big town, even those campaigns, if you can fill them here in the rural, as my sister said from Triumph, Uganda. Leave no one behind. We need to be included, even as local organizations in the rural. And I urge the Kenya, if we can embrace inclusion within disability, because like here, you see, if you have a psychosocial disability, when people are taking pictures or their job opportunities, even their administration, the chiefs, you are seen as if you are not worthy, you don't qualify. So I task, we need to feel the presence of the work of Samuel from Kenya. We have not seen him here in the rural. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Winfred. Definitely we will be in touch with all of you. I'll have to stop the webinar now because it's already a bit late. We are 15 minutes late, and we cannot, hold the interpreters with us. And it was really exciting and really inspiring hearing all of you. And I really thank all the speakers to share about their journeys, about their works, and also the participants who have joined and shared their thoughts and remarks with us. We'll definitely have a note of this, and we'll be in touch with you individually regarding all of your comments. Just before I close, I will request from my team. Somebody wants to, Richa, Bhargavi. Okay. Rubina, you want to say some closing remarks?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, as we close, it is still a word of appreciation to us all who have made every effort to be here. This indeed, it shows a certain level of belonging, the family spirit, feeling that we belong somewhere. We are connecting for a collective, to collect our strength, to collect whatever we have for a purpose, for something that we all want to achieve. And through as we've been discussing together and the open dialogue, the issue of coming from isolation, from exclusion, isolation, to connectivity, to being connected somewhere. We've heard that the cry of wanting to be connected. So, and we are all connecting for a collective voice on being included in the communities. I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for Waka and team, the TCI Secretariat, for making it possible, connecting to all the members that we've been able to connect with to be here. We know some of our members who have not been able to connect, maybe they would have loved, or certain things came in. It's good that this has been recorded and they will be able to receive the recording so that we are on the same page. Thank you. Bagavi for leading this. Thank you all board members for being there. The board members of TCI Global. Thank you so much for the work that is being done, connecting with the Secretariat to see that we are growing together as a movement for inclusion. I want to say love and peace and joy to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.